I used to believe confidence was something that happened to other people. You know those women who walk into a room without apologizing for taking up space? The ones who laugh without wondering if they're too loud? The ones who speak without rehearsing every sentence in their heads first? I thought they had discovered some secret that life had forgotten to tell me. Because every morning, I woke up carrying questions instead of confidence. Did I say the wrong thing yesterday? Did I sound awkward? Why do I always overthink every conversation? Why does everyone else seem so sure of themselves? Sometimes I would replay a 5-minute conversation for hours. I'd remember one sentence I said, one expression on someone's face, one awkward pause. Then my mind would quietly whisper, "See, you embarrassed yourself again." And the strange thing was, nobody else ever seemed to notice. The battle wasn't happening around me. It was happening inside me. Maybe you felt that too. Maybe you've smiled through an entire day while secretly wondering if you're enough. Enough for your family, enough for your friends, enough for your dreams, enough just to be loved without constantly proving your worth. If that's where you are today, I want you to stay with me, because I didn't find confidence in some life-changing quote. I found it in something so ordinary, I almost threw it away. A notebook. For years, I believed confidence would arrive after I fixed everything that was wrong with me. If I lost a little weight, maybe then. If I became more successful, maybe then. If I stopped making mistakes, maybe then. If people complimented me more, maybe then. So I waited. I waited for some future version of myself who would finally feel worthy. And while I was waiting, life kept happening. Birthdays passed, conversations ended, opportunities appeared and disappeared. People came into my life, people left, but one thing never changed. The voice inside my head. It always found another reason to doubt me. When I succeeded, it said, anyone could have done that. When I made a mistake, it said, see, this is who you really are. It didn't matter what happened on the outside, because my inner world had already decided I wasn't enough. And when your own thoughts become your harshest critic, even your biggest victories can feel strangely empty. I tried everything I could think of. I watched motivational videos, saved inspirational quotes, downloaded productivity apps, bought books that promised to transform my life. Every Monday felt like a fresh beginning. This week will be different. I'd make plans, write goals, imagine a brand new version of myself. And for a few days, I genuinely believed it. Then something small would happen. I'd forget a task, make a mistake, receive a message that sounded a little cold. Someone wouldn't reply right away, and suddenly, everything I had been building inside myself collapsed like a house made of cards. Not because those moments were huge, but because every little disappointment became evidence for an old belief. Maybe I'm just not enough. The hardest part wasn't failing. It was how quickly I turned every small setback into a story about my worth. I didn't need someone else to criticize me. I had become very good at doing it myself. It happened on a completely ordinary evening. Not after a life-changing seminar. Not after reading the perfect book. Not after finally becoming confident. Just an ordinary Tuesday. I was cleaning my room because my mind felt as messy as everything around me. You know those days when you can't explain why you feel heavy? Nothing terrible has happened, but everything feels exhausting. Even answering a text feels like too much. I remember moving books from one shelf to another when something slid onto the floor. A notebook. Nothing special about it. The cover was worn. The corners were bent. A few pages were sticking out because I had stuffed little notes inside years earlier. I almost put it back without opening it. Actually, I almost threw it away. I remember holding it in my hands and thinking, when was the last time I even wrote anything? It felt like something from another version of me. A version who believed journaling would somehow fix everything. I smiled a little, not because life had become easier, but because I remembered how hopeful that younger version of me had been. She bought notebooks believing each blank page could become a fresh start. Maybe you've done that too. Bought a beautiful journal, wrote on the first 2 pages. Then life became busy. The notebook quietly disappeared into a drawer, and somehow you started believing you had failed at journaling too. I almost added mine to the pile of things I never finished, but something stopped me. Maybe curiosity, maybe exhaustion, maybe I simply had nothing left to lose. So I sat on the floor, opened to the first empty page, and stared at it. For a long time, the blank page looked strangely intimidating. I wanted to write something meaningful, something wise, something that sounded like the kind of person who had her life together, but my mind was empty. Actually, no, it wasn't empty. It was noisy. The familiar thoughts arrived almost immediately. What if this is pointless? You won't keep doing this. Nothing is going to change. You've tried things before. For a few minutes, I listened to those thoughts. Then another quieter voice appeared. Not loud, not dramatic, just gentle. What if you wrote one sentence anyway? That felt manageable. One sentence, not 10 pages, not a perfect journal entry, just one honest moment. So I picked up my pen, I looked at the page, and instead of asking, how do I become confident, I asked myself something much smaller. What did I do well today? At first, I honestly couldn't think of anything. It sounds strange now, but that's what happens when you've spent years noticing everything you do wrong. Your brain becomes an expert at collecting evidence against you. I sat there thinking, I didn't accomplish anything. Then I remembered. I answered an email I had been avoiding. That counted. I cooked dinner instead of ordering takeout. That counted. I got out of bed even though I didn't feel like it. That counted too. 3 tiny things, nothing impressive, nothing anyone else would celebrate. But for the first time, I celebrated them. The next morning, nothing magical happened. I didn't wake up overflowing with confidence. I didn't suddenly love myself. I didn't look in the mirror and think, wow, I've completely changed. Honestly, I still doubted myself. I still overthought conversations. I still worried about saying the wrong thing. But something tiny had shifted. Instead of beginning my day by remembering everything I hadn't done, I remembered those 3 little victories from the night before. It was almost like my brain had discovered a new place to look. For years, it had searched every day for proof that I wasn't enough. Now, it had one small reason to search for something different. That evening, I wrote 3 more things. Some days they were so ordinary, it almost felt silly. I drank enough water. I finally folded the laundry. I took a walk instead of staying inside all day. I called my mom. I rested without feeling guilty. I said no when I needed to. Tiny things. But confidence isn't built only through extraordinary moments. Most of our lives happen in ordinary ones, and maybe that's why we miss them. We're waiting for huge breakthroughs, while our confidence quietly grows in small promises we keep to ourselves. I wish I could tell you that after 1 week, the negative voice disappeared forever. It didn't. It still showed up. Some mornings it whispered, "You're falling behind." Other days it said, "Everyone else is doing better." Sometimes it convinced me that one mistake erased all the progress I had made. And honestly, that was discouraging. I thought, maybe this journal isn't working after all. But then something interesting happened. One evening, before writing, I flipped back to the first page, then the second, then the third. I wasn't reading motivational words. I wasn't reading perfect thoughts. I was reading proof. Proof that I had kept showing up. Proof that I had survived difficult days. Proof that I had done more than my anxious mind wanted me to believe. For the first time, I realized something beautiful. The journal wasn't changing who I was. It was helping me see who I had been all along. A few weeks later, something happened that I wasn't expecting. It was raining outside. The kind of quiet rain that makes everything feel slower. I had made myself a cup of tea, wrapped myself in my favorite blanket, and opened my journal like I had done every evening for the past few weeks. Except that night, instead of turning to a new blank page, I started reading the old ones. At first, I wasn't looking for anything. I was just curious. Curious about what I had written on those days when I felt like nothing was changing. The very first page made me smile. 3 tiny victories. I answered 1 difficult email. I drank enough water today. I got out of bed even though I didn't feel like it. I remember laughing softly, not because those things were silly, but because I remembered how impossible they had felt back then. It's funny how quickly we forget the mountains we've already climbed, but reading those words weeks later, I didn't see weakness. I saw courage. Small courage, quiet courage, the kind nobody applauds, the kind that happens behind closed doors. And I started wondering, how many brave things had I forgotten simply because nobody else had seen them? Maybe you've done that too. Maybe you've survived things that no one even knows about. Maybe you've carried yourself through lonely nights, hidden tears, silent disappointments, and because there was no audience, no applause, no celebration, you convinced yourself that none of it counted, but it did. Every single moment counted. As I kept turning the pages, something unexpected happened. I started meeting different versions of myself. There was the version who had written, "Today, I finally spoke up during the meeting. I remembered how nervous she was. Her hands had been shaking. She almost stayed silent, but she spoke anyway." There was another page. "Today, I went for a walk instead of staying inside all day. I remembered that afternoon too. I almost didn't leave the apartment. My anxiety told me people would look at me, judge me, notice every little thing. But I went anyway, and nothing terrible happened." Then another page. "I said no today, just 3 words, but I knew exactly what they meant. For years, I had said yes to things that left me exhausted. Yes, because I didn't want people to be disappointed. Yes, because I wanted everyone to like me. Yes, because I confused being kind with abandoning myself." That tiny sentence reminded me that confidence doesn't always sound loud. Sometimes confidence sounds like no. As I continued reading, a strange feeling settled over me. Not excitement, not pride, something quieter, recognition. I realized my anxious mind had been telling me a story every single day. The story sounded something like this: "You're not growing. You're still the same. You're failing. Everyone else is moving forward except you." But my journal, my own handwriting, was telling a completely different story. Page after page, it quietly whispered, "Look again. You've changed. You're trying. You're becoming someone stronger." And suddenly I understood something I wish someone had told me years earlier. Our minds don't always remember our progress, but they remember our mistakes with incredible detail. One awkward conversation, one forgotten task, one criticism, one failure. Those moments stay bright in our memory. Meanwhile, the dozens of quiet victories fade into the background. Not because they weren't important, but because our brains often pay more attention to what feels threatening than to what feels safe. Without realizing it, I had spent years collecting evidence again. That night, I closed the journal, held it against my chest for a moment, and I cried. Not because everything was suddenly perfect, not because every insecurity had disappeared. I cried because, for the first time in a very long time, I felt seen. Not by someone else, by myself. I realized I had spent years waiting for confidence to arrive like a feeling. I thought one morning I would wake up, look in the mirror, and magically believe in myself. But confidence didn't arrive like that. It arrived quietly, one page at a time. One honest sentence at a time. One tiny victory at a time. It wasn't built through pretending I was fearless. It was built by remembering that I had already been brave. Confidence isn't believing you'll never make mistakes. It's remembering that you've survived every mistake you've already made. Confidence isn't waking up without fear. It's seeing enough evidence that you can keep going even when fear is sitting beside you. And that's what my little notebook gave me. Not fake positivity, not empty affirmations, evidence, real moments, real growth, real proof that I was becoming someone I could trust. Maybe that's what self-worth really is. Not convincing yourself that you're perfect, but learning to notice yourself with the same kindness you would offer someone you love. Because if your best friend came to you and said, "I only answered one difficult email today," you wouldn't tell her, "That's not enough." You'd probably smile and say, "I'm proud of you. I know that wasn't easy." So why do we speak to ourselves differently? Why do we expect perfection from the one person who has been carrying us through every difficult day? Maybe tonight, instead of asking, "Why am I not more confident?" try asking a different question. What evidence have I overlooked? You might be surprised by what you find. If I could sit across from you right now, If we were sharing a quiet evening together with 2 warm cups of tea between us, and you asked me, what's the one habit that helped you stop doubting yourself? I wouldn't tell you to wake up at 5 in the morning. I wouldn't tell you to become more productive. I wouldn't tell you to become a completely different person. I'd probably reach into my bag, pull out this notebook, slide it across the table, and say, start here. Because this notebook never asked me to be extraordinary. It only asked me to be honest. Every night, before I went to sleep, I wrote one simple question at the top of the page. What are 3 things I did well today? Not, what did I achieve? Not, what made other people proud? Not, did I finally become confident? Just, what did I do well today? At first, I kept looking for impressive answers. My mind wanted achievements, finished projects, big milestones, something worthy of celebration. But most days didn't look like that. Most days looked wonderfully ordinary. And slowly, I realized that ordinary doesn't mean unimportant. Some evenings, my list looked like this. I answered a phone call I had been avoiding. I drank enough water today. I took a deep breath instead of panicking. On another day, it was, I asked for help. Instead of pretending I was fine, I smiled at a stranger. I rested without apologizing for it. None of those moments would ever appear on a resume. No one would give me an award for them, but each one quietly whispered the same truth. You are showing up. And sometimes, showing up is one of the bravest things we can do. One question I get asked all the time is, but what if I had a terrible day? I know that feeling. Some days don't feel successful at all. Some days are heavy from the moment you wake up. Maybe anxiety follows you into every conversation. Maybe you're emotionally exhausted before lunchtime. Maybe nothing goes the way you planned. On those days, your anxious mind will probably say, you have nothing good to write. Please don't believe it. Those are the days your journal matters the most. Because confidence isn't built only on your best days. It's built on the days you choose kindness instead of criticism. I remember one evening when I felt like I had failed at everything. I had missed a deadline. I forgot to reply to someone I cared about. I cried in the middle of the afternoon for reasons I couldn't explain. When I opened my journal, I almost closed it again. There was a long silence. Then I wrote, I got out of bed. I stared at those words. Part of me wanted to erase them. That's not enough, my inner critic whispered, but another part of me gently answered, maybe today it is. So I kept writing. I ate dinner, even though I had no appetite. I kept breathing through my anxiety instead of giving up. 3 simple sentences, nothing dramatic. Yet those words became a lifeline, because they reminded me that surviving a difficult day is still progress. If today felt overwhelming, your journal page might look like this. I asked for a break when I needed one. I cried instead of pretending I wasn't hurting. I chose to begin again. Can you see what we're really doing? We're teaching the mind to notice effort, not just perfection. We're collecting evidence that we are caring for ourselves, even when life feels messy. And over time, those tiny pieces of evidence begin to change the story we tell about ourselves. Months passed, not days, not one magical weekend, months, and one morning. Something happened that almost slipped past me. I made a small mistake at work, the kind of mistake that used to ruin my entire week. Without thinking, I waited for the familiar voice. You're so careless, you'll never get it right. Everyone probably thinks you're incompetent, but the voice didn't arrive the way it used to. Instead, another thought quietly appeared. It's okay. I actually stopped what I was doing because that sentence felt unfamiliar, gentle, almost comforting. It's okay. I fixed the mistake. I moved on. And only later did I realize what had happened. The journal hadn't made me perfect. It had changed the way I spoke to myself, little by little, page after page. It had introduced me to a kinder inner voice, not a voice that ignored my mistake, a voice that remembered my humanity. The more evidence I collected of my effort, the less power my inner critic had. It was as though my journal had become a witness to my growth. On the days I forgot how far I'd come, it remembered for me. It reminded me that confidence isn't a destination where suddenly everything feels easy. It's a relationship you build with yourself through thousands of tiny moments. Every time you notice a small victory, every time you speak to yourself with compassion, every time you choose curiosity over self-judgment, you're strengthening that relationship. And one day, without even realizing when it happened, you'll respond to yourself the way you've always deserved, with patience, with grace, with hope. Maybe that's the kind of confidence we've been searching for all along. Not the loud confidence that needs everyone else's approval, but the quiet confidence that softly says, I know I'm still growing, and I don't have to earn the right to be kind to myself. As we sit here together, I keep thinking about the woman I used to be, the one who believed confidence belonged to someone else, the one who thought she had to become perfect before she could finally feel proud of herself. If I could go back and sit beside her, I wouldn't hand her a long list of advice. I wouldn't tell her to fix every flaw. I wouldn't ask her to become fearless overnight. I'd simply place a notebook in her hands. I'd smile, and I'd say, don't try to change your whole life tonight. Just notice yourself, because that's where everything began for me. Not with a huge breakthrough, not with one perfect morning, but with a single page, one quiet evening, one honest sentence, 3 tiny victories, and then another page, and another, until, without realizing it, I had written a different story about myself. Maybe that's what healing looks like most of the time. Not fireworks, not dramatic transformations, just gentle moments that slowly become a new way of living. So tonight, when this video ends, don't ask yourself, how do I become a confident person? That question can feel so big that it becomes overwhelming. Instead, ask yourself something much kinder. What did I do well today? Maybe your answer is, I got through a difficult day. Maybe it's, I asked for help, or I rested when I needed to, or simply, I kept going. Please don't underestimate those answers. They are not small. They are the quiet building blocks of self-trust. Every time you notice one of them, you're teaching your heart that your effort matters, that you matter. And one day, you'll read those pages the way I did. You'll look back and realize you've been becoming someone stronger all along. Before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with one thought. You don't have to wait until you feel confident to begin treating yourself with kindness. Sometimes, kindness comes first. Confidence quietly follows. If you've spent years listening to an inner critic, please remember this. That voice is not the only voice inside you. There is another one. It may be quiet right now. It may only whisper, but it's there. The voice that says, I'm learning, I'm growing. I don't have to be perfect to deserve compassion. Every time you write down one small victory, you make that gentle voice a little stronger. And every time you choose to notice your effort instead of only your mistakes, you're becoming someone your future self will thank you for. If you'd like to make this a calming evening ritual, I've created a free guide called the 3-Minute Anxiety Reset. It's a simple practice you can use before journaling to quiet racing thought, slow your breathing, and help you arrive on the page with a calmer mind. You'll find it through the link in the description. I hope it becomes a small moment of peace in your day, just as journaling became one in mine. And if you're trying to build a calmer mind, stronger confidence, and a kinder relationship with yourself, you're always welcome here. Thank you for spending these moments with me. If this story reminded you to be a little gentler with yourself, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what's one small thing you did well today? It doesn't have to be something extraordinary. Sometimes the smallest victories carry the greatest courage. Until next time, take a deep breath, close your journal with gratitude, and remember, you are growing, even on the days you can't see it. Take care of your heart. I'll see you in the next video.